For many of us degenerates, NFL's draft season is really just Christmas in the spring. We talk about prospects, what they could mean for our teams, NFL, and fantasy. We see testing, we see landing spots, but really we go months without seeing an actual game of football played. Well, now training camps are on the horizon. Preseason games are almost here. Training camp is in session, and preseason games are on the horizon. How are these rookies measuring up so far? What does it mean for your fantasy teams? Let's dive in tonight on the Rod Pod. It's time to pull up a chair and talk some fantasy football. I am not your normal host, JJ Winner, but I am Joseph Harlow, filling in for JJ and Jameson as they are having fun gallivanting about the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton. Joining me today is a very familiar face, one who might have been on last week. He's an ECR ranker. He does editing for us at IDP+, so many more things. The great Dynasty Santa. Santa, welcome in.
Yo, boys and girls. What's up?
Great to have you on. So, like I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about rookies, a lot of camp battles and what's going on with the rookies. Kind of going to go position by position, really hitting more of the bigger names. We'll hit a few later round prospects, especially for the offensive side. But really, we're going to be hitting camp battles for the big guys like a Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors. We're not going to talk much about them because they're going to play. But yeah, overall, how are you feeling about this rookie class, Santa?
Like most, excited, optimistic. Probably have them all ranked way too high in all formats, like, the usual.
Yeah, it seems to be how it's going, but we'll see. I feel good about the offensive side, at least. So I know today we're going to get into a bit of redraft and dynasty. I think we're going to hit a little bit of both for how we're feeling about these players. So let's start with, we're going to go position by position, starting with the quarterbacks. And we'll go with the guy who was my quarterback one, Drake Maye. Right now, he is seeming to be the backup to Jacoby Brissett, which I think we kind of expected.
Yeah.
Any concerns there with him?
Not a single one. All these beat reports coming out. I mean, I've heard the initial one from the initial guy. I've heard people like in the Boston sports scene, fans and other content people just don't take that guy very seriously much at all. So I'm not taking that report very seriously much at all either. So long term, not worried much at all. Short term, I'm still taking shots in redraft leagues as my backup QB if I think I can afford to just hold him till potentially mid-season, hopefully sooner. But yeah, I all the hype. Literally, once I got that little sleeper alert, I immediately went and tweeted out, "Go buy the Drake Maye dip right now."
Oh, absolutely. Well, should. I think I have him in 14 of my 25 Dynasty Keeper leagues.
Beautiful.
And I'm going to look either like an idiot or like a genius in a couple of months. So, man. I'm not worried. I think this is kind of what we expected. The offensive line, I don't think it's going to be as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be, but it's still not great by any means. So I think it's good for him to sit a little bit, and the weapons are nothing to write home about, even though I do love a Jalen Polk, who we'll talk about later. Javon Baker has talent, but overall, I think it makes sense, especially I think they start with a pretty rough schedule of defenses. So Jacoby Brissett's a really good quarterback. It's a shame hasn't really gotten a shot to be a starter somewhere.
All right.
But,
yeah. Quick side tangent. I mean, last year, I kind of, early on these preseasons, I really loved the Texans as far as like over win total from what Vegas is projecting. Well, the Patriots, I think, are my team for this year. I think they're kind of my under the radar. Like everyone thinks they're going to be horrible. I mean, remember their defense was awesome last year.
Yeah.
And they really haven't changed much to it. They get a healthy, theoretically Matt Judon back, who was gone.
And Christian Gonzalez.
And that defense was still hardly giving up points, So, and with the rookie head coach, he's been around, he's been a player, he's been in that coaching staff forever. So I just think the Patriots are one of these like underdog teams who definitely might catch steam in the second half of the year. And I'm betting they're over win total.
I would as well, very easily. I don't think they'll be as good as Houston was last year. I think a lot of that just they don't have a Nico Collins on this roster.
Right.
I'm lower on Tank Dell, but they might not even have one of those. So if you're
Baker,
high on him, huh?
Javon Baker, yeah. Baker.
We'll see, but I do think if nothing else, there'll be a frisky team who's going to who I think they'll knock someone out of the playoffs with like a week 16 upset. I think they have a chance to, even if Drake Maye doesn't play much or does look like a rookie, I think they have a chance to really annoy some people.
Totally.
So another annoying team with some Minnesota, or I spoiled it there, with some New England ties. Let's go with some Minnesota. JJ McCarthy. Again, it seemed like he's going to be the backup out of the gate. Not super shocked about it. I was kind of thinking there was a time when he could have been the week 1 starter, but wrong button there. But it seems like Sam Darnold's actually been looking really good and what's going on here? Has been looking really good. So I think that's where they're going to start the year with. It makes sense. McCarthy's a young player, played in a very good team with a very good team, so I can see it. Do think they have a week 5 bye, I believe it was, or a pretty early bye, so I think he could still come in pretty early, but right now I think status quo.
Yeah, I'm coming around on him more in Dynasty. I was kind of like not super interested, but I'm slowly coming around more. He's apparently the camp standout of all training camps with like 30, I think some crazy beat writer. That annoys me, by the way, these guys that are like tracking training camp stats. Like we have a guy at Eagles that does it. And it's like the most annoying thing ever. But 30 touchdowns to 2 interceptions for JJ McCarthy. Like that means absolutely nothing. So, but you know, I think he's set up. He's also set up pretty good going forward. Obviously connected to Justin Jefferson doesn't hurt your prospectus going forward. So
I was high on McCarthy as a prospect too. I like him more than Jaden Daniels as a player.
Nice.
But obviously doesn't have that same rushing upside for fantasy. But I think not super interested in a redraft league, but at least that in your initial draft, once he takes over, it looks like they have a week 6 bye. So if week 7 against Detroit, he's coming out as a starter, that I think is worth a pickup. But dynasty wise, I'm still in on him. I think he can be really good.
Yeah.
So to another quarterback who I don't think is very good. I don't remember. You didn't either, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Broncos starter ? Bo Nix. You'd think he's going to be the starter, just 12th overall pick. No real name on the roster, but as of their first training camp depth chart, he was 3rd quarterback behind Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson. I don't know. I feel like there's some posturing there. I do expect him 100%. To start at least double-digit games for sure, but was not expecting him to see his QB 3.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that's that typical, coaches, you got to earn it type deal. Sean Payton, I feel like it's old school in this day and age of the NFL. So complete BS, I think. I actually thought Zach Wilson would come out as a starter, but we've got 4 weeks of preseason here to go, so I think we're going to learn a lot in those few weeks. As far as
we will
get the job.
And the defenses they play Seattle week 1, which feisty defense, not a world beater. Pittsburgh, Tampa, and the Jets. So that's a rough, and then Vegas. So it's a rough starting stretch. So I could see going with Stidham out the gate, but
there's no. I would assign a 0% chance that Nick starts week 1. I may look like an idiot there, but I'm fairly confident
that he will or won't.
Will not.
Yeah. I don't know, because someone with as much experience as he has, shouldn't want to put him on the bench. I feel like that was a big thing for me with him and Michael Penix. It's like they both were still super raw prospects, but they're 4 or 5 years older than the other guys. So, but we'll see. Dynasty wise, it doesn't change anything for me. For him, he's still a future starting quarterback in the league, so has value. That's pretty much it for the signal callers, unless you had anyone else you could think of. Michael Penix is the clear backup. Spencer Rattler, I could still see doing something later on this season, but he's still a stash for me. I know Johnny and another Steve talked about it on their pod earlier in the week that they think he's a stash. But
See, I'm a big Jake Haener guy, so I've been holding him still.
It's a bummer because I was a huge Haener guy, and I'm a huge Rattler guy as well. It's like, damn. I know Haener's going through the skin cancer thing now, though.
Yeah, that's what really sucks for his going forward. I feel like he might not miss that much time or something. I don't know. I'm trying to keep my eyes out for any real news, but prior to that crazy whole situation, I was pretty comfortably putting him as the QB2 going forward. And if Carr goes down, then he would get the first shot. But now that's a whole unfortunate monkey wrench, and definitely hoping that he, pulls through all that stuff.
Hopefully. So let's move to the backfield. A weird running back class. We'll start with the top guy in the class, earliest draft one, my number one prospect, and then Jonathan Brooks. This isn't as much of a camp battle as it is just he's on the pup list. What are your thoughts on Brooks right now?
Yeah, this is as clear of what's going to happen as probably anything we can predict for an NFL season. New regime, old regime paid Miles Sanders. He's going to either be traded, cut, or just rotting on the bench. Chubb Hubbard will be the starter in the beginning, and the second that Brooks is healthy enough to play, maybe they ramp him up for 2 to 3 weeks, but he is a smash pick for me in redraft leagues in like the mid rounds or the RB dead zone rounds, because the second half of the season, which is, theoretically more important than the first half in redraft, I think he's just going to be a smash. So I love taking Brooks, buying the injury dip, because I'm not worried about a Chubb Hubbard or Miles Sanders affecting him once he is actually healthy to go. And in Dynasty, I'd still have him as the RB1 of the class. Absolutely. Trying to think around who I have him. Like, obviously taking him ahead of like a Kamara, an aging Kamara and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm excited for the second half.
I agree. I hope that he does stay on the pup list to start the year and they just sit him the first 4 games. But
that would make sense.
Let him heal. I mean, they're not going anywhere this year, so
Carolina crazy. They don't get enough recognition for being one of the worst franchises in the NFL, at least as of late. I know they've made a couple of Super Bowls here and there and have had some success in small stretches, but God, if you look back at some of the moves they've made, I mean, obviously recency bias, but even, past, like they're a terrible franchise.
Still, I mean, that Super Bowl was 9 seasons ago. It was the 2015 season. So, but so looking at Dynasty rankings, I just pulled up Keep Trade Cut. Closest one on me. They have him at running back 10, but with Saquon, Kyron right above him, and then Kenneth Walker and Pacheco right behind him. What do you think about that slot?
That's aggressive. I kind of like it. We know the Keep Trade Cut is, fueled by crazy Dynasty people and definitely skews to younger players, I think. But I don't hate it, actually. I think it's definitely aggressive. Like, I don't know. It feels like Pacheco might be a bit of a safer guy, but top 15 easily. I would say.
Yeah, I think you can make an argument that if you're a team who's rebuilding, just flopping him for Saquon straight up makes sense. I think that's probably a loss overall in the value, but I think that's reasonable. I think I'd probably have him RB. Oh, looking at these ranks, the names. I might have had him all the way up at running back 8, honestly.
Yeah, it looks like I got him right at 10 too for Dynasty. And I have
he's definitely in that 8 to 11 range for me.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So we're gonna skip next running back. We're gonna skip the second running back, taking Trey Benson. I think that's pretty clear what's going on there. It's James Conner's backfield to lose. I think Benson will get some spell. Similar with Jalen Wright. There's just a couple guys ahead of him. It'll take an injury for him to really be something this year. But I think MarShawn Lloyd is an interesting name to bring up here. But sounds like he might be the running back 3. AJ Dillon's getting hype as they always give him for some reason. But what is your read on this backfield?
I'm really excited for Lloyd. Definitely Dynasty redraft. I feel like, depending on how things shake out with the snap shares, with Dillon, he's heads and shoulders a better player than, or better running back at least than AJ Dillon. for sure and for fantasy purposes, but coaches have way more say over fantasy than we do. So that's kind of a hope and pray one in redraft, but definitely I'm keeping my eyes on the waiver wire for him too. So Dynasty, I'm excited.
In the last round of your redraft league, if you want to go for him, I don't hate it. I think it's going to be tough. I'm all in on Josh Jacobs. I know Jameson had some hesitations on him, but I think there's going to be a lot more efficiency with him this year than he had in Vegas.
That's kind of what you have to hope for, all right? Mm-hmm. Because if there's not, then I think you're looking in trouble and in bust potential territory. And it's totally 50-50. I'm not a lover. I don't have a strong opinion on Jacobs. If he falls to me at an ADP value, I'm fine taking him. I'm definitely not reaching for him though, because I'm just playing that both sides there. And that
he's someone I've been reaching for a lot. Just love the player himself, and it's like I'm probably overvaluing him. So let's go to a couple other later round running backs. And first one, Tyrone Tracy, one of my draft darlings from Purdue, now with the Giants. He's getting a lot of run with the first team. So I don't know how much I want him in redraft, just with the Giants of it all and O-line at best and Danny Dimes. Dynasty, I think he's a top 5. I have one of my top 5 shared players. So
nice.
I love the talent, great receiving back, and if he gets getting some real run with the ones, I'm excited for him.
It sounds like he might have that receiving role pretty much on lock, which is great for year one. So even just that alone, because no more Saquon. I don't know that Devin Singletary is necessarily going to be a workhorse or a 3-down.
And neither are the greatest blocking backs. I know Tracy puts a lot of effort into it, which is something. But so it's not like there's a Kyron Williams there who's like an elite pass blocker who's going to take away that. So Then last name to hit on here is Kimani Vidal from the Chargers. What's your read on the Chargers backfield?
I mean, we were hearing the name Jaret Patterson the last few weeks. Like, I think that's a horrible sign for a guy like Vidal. I mean,
if it were just Gus and Dobbins, I wouldn't be super concerned. Just both of them have been hurt a lot. But Jaret Patterson, Spiller was ahead of him on the initial depth chart, which I think the Chargers had every non-Joe Alt rookie as like their 5th stringer for every position. So
typical
Jim Harbaugh. But
oh man, redraft. I mean, he's going to need a perfect storm of injuries and earning his way onto the field in practice and season, I think. And in Dynasty's fallen for me. I've even kind of before, training camp started and stuff, I was a big Dylan Lobby over Kimani Vidal guy for those, when you're in that range of taking those 6th-round running back types. I actually like Lobby pretty much in all formats over a guy like Vidal. So that's my take.
I think that makes a lot of sense then. Even a Blake Watson, if you don't believe in the Bronco situation, who was undrafted.
What a mess.
Oh, well, so that's pretty much it for the running backs. And before we get into the pass catchers, let's pay some bills. So we're not just a bunch of pretty faces here at IDP Plus. We have an entire suite of tools and rankings for both offense and defense, plus a whole lot more than that. Right now, you can get your first month with IDP Plus. And remember, on our new website at idpplus.com. Check it out down there. There we go. But for $1 the first month, if you use the promo code MOCKDRAFT in all caps, head over to idpplus.com after the show and get ahead of your lazy league mates and start your march to fantasy football greatness today. Again, that promo code is MOCKDRAFT, all caps in one word. The link and details are in the show description. Alrighty, that IDP Plus is looking super crisp. I know we just brought over everyone from the old site over. I think you need to reset your new passwords, or you'll have to go through forgot your password is basically how it goes. And then you'll be back in action for the new website. Super excited for that. It's running a lot better than the old one, I think.
Facts.
So wide receivers, I think let's hit on these guys a little quicker since I think these are less camp battles and more target share. Just leading off with Odunze for the Bears, the 9th overall pick.
9th, yep.
Yeah, I think has great rapport with Caleb Williams, but there's a couple other names ahead of him. Where do you feel for him on mostly a redraft thing? I think Dynasty is pretty solid on him.
I still love taking a shot in redraft. It just feels like it's going to shake out by the end. I mean, Keenan Allen, no spring chicken, right? And it kind of just I'm not saying like I'm betting on injuries, but like also just knowing the Bears franchise, like it just feels like at some point something is going to happen that's going to get Odunze on the field for a significant portion of time. And when he does, you just mentioned, he's got a great rapport with Caleb. They're both rookies. Like, I think it's going to be wheels up. And he, if you're in like redraft keeper leagues, I mean, he's going to be one of these guys that lasts to like the double-digit rounds, and he's just going to be an automatic keeper for you for next year because Keenan will retire or go sign somewhere else, and it'll be wheels up. I do think he has the potential to take over as wide receiver 1 over DJ Moore there, and I do have them ranked in Dynasty that way. So
I do as
ahead
well.
of DJ Moore,
Yeah, I think it looks like he's going 102 for Fantasy Pros ECR, which I know in Scott Fishbowl drafts, he was going in the 60s, early 70s, and at that price, I was out for him this year. But if he's going 8th, 9th round, I'm willing to take a shot on him as wide receiver 4 for my team. I think there's a real chance he ends up wide receiver 2 this year and then really takes over as a wide receiver 1, 25 and beyond.
Exactly.
I think he's someone who's close to my top 12 Dynasty rankings right now, even with the uncertainty for this year.
Yeah, I keep tweaking him up every time I
know. I just love him. And now he's going to be the punt returner for the team. So
yeah, that's where I went with Scott Fishbowl
ranking a little better. Bummed that I was out on that price, but
I got the Caleb stack in Scott Fish. I'm excited.
That is beautiful.
I'm definitely not biased at all with that opinion.
Next name, Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jaguars. Looks like he's actually starting for them in 3 receiver sets. Don't know about 2 receiver. I kind of expect Kirk and Gabe Davis. I think just since he's such a nasty blocker, I do think he ends up being the 2nd receiver. And then Evan Ingram's there is going to steal a lot of targets. Trevor Lawrence likes to throw the ball to Travis Etienne, even though he can't catch a cold. But I'm not really in on Thomas this year, but him starting already, at least if he has like a 60, 70% snap share this year, I'm really excited for his future outlook.
Yeah, he's definitely more of a dynasty play. Last round, dart throw, and hope that you don't have injuries in redraft that you would have to drop him for someone else. But in dynasty, I'm still super excited. I'm still super bullish. So yeah, that's it feels like I'm not hearing a lot of reports, which is maybe good, especially if we're not
for a player like him. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It looks like 122 is his ECR right now, and 12th, 13th round or 10th, 11th round. It's interesting.
Yeah,
still don't think I would want to.
A little early.
Yeah. I guess it's more for a best ball. I'd be content with that.
True.
Yeah. Next name, another first rounder, the opposite stature wise of Brian Thomas and Odunze, Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs. This one, I think he's going to be a starter. I don't really see a way he's not starting. I just don't know, especially if Rashee Rice isn't suspended. Like, what is this target share going to look like?
It's going to be gross. It's going to be just like their linebackers a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
Kelsey will be really Nick Bolton, but then it's going to be nasty after that.
Yeah. Are you drafting any Chiefs wide receivers right now?
I feel like Hollywood Brown is still a value right now almost. So I don't mind him. But yeah, it feels like people are reaching on Worthy. And Rice, yeah, same thing. If it's an ADP value, I'm taking the chance.
That looks like ECR, they are all 82, 87, and 92 and Rice, Brown, and Worthy. So
that totally makes sense. And one of them is going to probably pop. It's probably going to be also super inconsistent throughout the year. Yeah. Everyone's production is going to be lumpy. Everyone's going to get frustrated with not starting them on the right weeks. And it's going to be gross. But
in Dynasty, redraft, I think I'm out on all of them. Yeah. Unless you're in best ball. But I'm in on all of them. But I think I'm out redraft wise. What about you?
And in redraft, the ADP, I'm probably going somewhere else. Honestly, in redraft, I probably even still prefer a Brian Thomas over Worthy. Even at whatever ADP. I know, I guess Thomas is lower, but I'm passing it Worthy of his. And in Dynasty, I'm mostly only taking shots if I can stack him with Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely.
Because these speed guys, like, I know he's probably the most actual skilled wide receiver that's come along with that type of speed, and is not who are the guys?
He's far more than John Ross or a Darius Hayward-Bay.
Exactly.
He's way more than that.
Those guys just make me nervous, man. He's skinny and small, like frame wise. Like,
I know we talked about last week the clip of him getting chucked in press, but
the pinball.
Yeah, which then he also had the great deep catch. I know he's with Mahomes. I don't trust him as a player. I had a 3rd round grade on him, and that's kind of where I stand with him. It's kind of still where I stand with him.
Yeah, but I agree.
Yeah. Then, okay, we need to talk about the 49ers. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Do you think Brandon Aiyuk is getting traded?
It feels like it at this point with all these deals supposedly in place. I'd probably give it a 75% chance. Yes, at this point. I don't really know what's the holdup. So that's kind of giving me the out there at the 25% because I feel like if all these deals are in place, I'm really confused as to what's holding it up then. It's a crazy situation. So Pearsall feels like a great stab in redraft. And obviously I was getting good value on him in Dynasty too, for being a 1st round wide receiver. I think people aren't crazy about the age, being an older prospect coming out. And I think production not until like these last 2 years or maybe just the senior year. I can't remember.
I know with Anthony Richardson, he looked like a rough player. And then with Arizona State, with Jaden Daniels, he wasn't much, but legit route ability, good hands. Dynasty stash. And he's going to the 3rd round in rookie draft, so worth a shot. Maybe if Aiyuk's traded, he's something, but I don't know. So then now we have a bunch of the third receivers that went in the 30s, starting with Xavier Legette. He's someone on field. I haven't seen anything about him. A lot of his fun as a person, but I haven't seen any on field work from him really, minus the one clip of him jumping over someone. But
year one, I'm not super excited. It's going to be Deontay, and Adam Thielen is still there. People seem to just be throwing the dirt on his grave already, and I think
Jonathan Mingo's apparently had a good camp. I'm
not getting excited about Mingo, but yes, all of them theoretically would be ahead of Legette in the pecking order in year one. I think it's very obvious that he came out as a project prospect with immense upside. So any expectations for year one production, I wouldn't really understand outside of, again, insanely perfect scenario with injuries.
And Bryce Young taking a massive step. I think we're pretty much the same page there. Then so now to the opposite quarterback of Bryce Young, Josh Allen's number 1 wide receiver, Keon Coleman. Another one. So many of these rooms are so hard to read. It's Curtis Samuel's there, Khalil Shakir. Both are good slot players. Keon Coleman, I think, projects best as your power slot sort of play, but I think is playing some X. I think they're going to shuffle him around a lot. But
hopefully, I think, or I don't know if hopefully. Now I'm torn because Keon Coleman feels like Treylon Burks to me in that he needs to be coached properly and set up properly for success, which did not happen for Burks. Maybe happens now, but man, so he worries me in that sense, in that if he's not put in the perfect position, he could enter that bust territory. Now, playing with Josh Allen is a lot better than playing with the likes of Tannehill, Malik Willis, even Will Levis, and whoever else filled in during those Titans years when everyone was injured. So like it's a little bit less bleak than projecting him as Treylon Burks, but I just say from a situational standpoint, it feels very similar to Treylon Burks, who I still love and am still very proudly holding diamond hands on Treylon Burks. But they feel like very similar to me for moving forward. Curtis Samuel's wide receiver 1, baby.
You think you have Samuel over Shakir?
Yeah. Just the connection with Joe Brady and the offense previously when he had his basically only breakout full fantasy season. I know he had was it the first half in Washington? He was good, and then
I think so.
Fell apart after. As usual. So that's kind of what I'm banking on there. I
think another good thing for Coleman is, like, if you look at the Treylon Burks comparison, who was the other best receiver, including tight ends on that roster when he was there? Nick Westbrook-Akine?
Yeah, exactly.
Even if Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, at least the 2 receivers, they're not stars, but they're at worst good wide receiver 3s. Nick Westbrook-Akine is a solid wide receiver 4.
Right.
But Shakir and Samuel, I think they're wide receiver 2s, I think. Maybe not the top best wide receiver 2s, but I think a good offense can be had there. So there's some pressure off. Kincaid, I think we talked about him last week, is going to be a volume monster.
Hopefully,
So I think there's enough talent around him where they're not just going to have to force him the ball or keep him off the field if he can't hang. So
I want like all the Buffalo wide receivers and tight ends in like best ball, but in redraft, I think it's going to be one enormous headache. Guys,
very similar to Kansas City.
Like Kansas City,
Next player, Lad McConkey for the Chargers, and this is really Lad. Who's the wide receiver 1? Is it McConkey or is it Josh Palmer?
Yeah. For year 1, I think it's Josh Palmer. DJ Chark's been getting some positive glow, but I'm not totally buying into that. I really do think it's Palmer. As gross as that sounds. So for redraft, I want Palmer. McConkey, similar to I probably want McConkey around where like Pearsall might be going in redraft, like just a later shot because we all are projecting the passing ball. I don't think it's gonna be as crazy low as people totally think, but it's probably going to be lower. Although their defense is nothing to write home about, so they could be in plenty of shootouts where they're going to have to pass.
That's true.
So I could see that. But
I'm going 97 ECR right now. That's too high for me.
Yeah, way too high. Way too high.
I've seen some where I think Sleeper at one point he was in the 70s. I saw somewhere else where he was in the 130s. So there's a wide range on him right now. So
130s feels a lot better.
But I still think McConkey has a chance. I think he's significantly more talented than Josh Palmer. So we'll see.
100%. Dynasty, complete flip-flop. He's still a strong projection for Dynasty. Just year 1's probably going to be a little slow.
I think so too. Then I think last name we'll hit for wide receivers will go just the Patriots room, specifically Jalen Polk. This is a weird one for redraft. I really don't know how to read it. But do you have any insight on how it could go?
I mean, I took Kendrick Bourne in the Scott Fish Bowl. It feels like he's probably going to be the wide receiver 1 out of the gate, but who knows? He's coming back from an injury. But if I'm betting on someone at least early in the season, it's probably Kendrick Bourne. As gross as that is.
It probably is. Polk, I love. I think he's a great dirty work receiver. He's one of my favorites out of the draft classes. People who've been watching know. Been a Polk stan for a while. But Pop Douglas is good. I think we'll get some targets. I think Hunter Henry might just be the best receiver on the team at this point. Javon Baker, some fantasy people think he was a first round pick, which I thought was a little much, but I don't know. There was some massive hype for him. She's talented for sure, but
I
think him as your X, Polk as your flanker, and then Pop as the slot is a solid core. Then Bourne doing Bourne things.
That'll probably be by the end of the year, but I feel like they signed KJ Osborne too.
Oh I forgot about him.
That feels like again, with the NFL, they're probably going to give the veteran the chance before the rookie. So like early season, it's probably going to be like Bourne, Osborne, Henry, and hopefully Paul gets it, but then or Douglas. Like, it's gross. It's worse than Buffalo and Kansas City.
Yeah, it's rough. Then the only other two to really mention are just the Bengals and the Steelers with Jermaine Burton and Roman Wilson. Seems like they're in battles for the wide receiver 3 and 2 specifically roles, which redraft Burton is interesting if he wins the third receiver job or T. Higgins gets hurt. But aside from that, they're more dynasty stashes to me.
Yeah, 100% on board there. Nothing crazy there. I mean, if Aiyuk ends up in Pittsburgh, that certainly tanks Roman Wilson. I have Calvin Austin playing ahead of him to start. So I've been taking some shots on Austin in super deep redraft leagues, more like salary contract type leagues for Austin.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot of Wilson.
I think
for whatever
I have
reason.
a couple. I like him as a player. Just
the Steelers hit on those guys, so he could very well be one of the top guys from his class in a year or two. We could look back.
Could be.
But he just doesn't feel super exciting. And if that's the Aiyuk landing spot, it just feels like between Aiyuk and Pickens, he's never going to develop or get the chance to a significant role in that offense, especially in Arthur Smith offense, which we know historically low 3 wide receiver set. So not great if Aiyuk lands there. We'll just say that.
So we'll hit some tight ends real quick. I think there's really only one name we need to talk a lot on, and that's Ben Sinnott for the Commanders, who right now is listed as tight end 3.
Oh, who's ahead of him at 2?
It is what's his name? Last year,
either Turner or Bates, Cole Turner or Bates.
I think it's Bates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Which Sinnott, I think a lot of the hype on him fantasy wise was super overblown. He's more of a Kyle Juszczyk than a George Kittle, which I think a lot of people thought he was going to be a George Kittle. I saw one tweet that was like, "Oh, did they find the next George Kittle because they were both 6'4", 250 coming out?" And it's like,
yikes!
What are we doing here? But,
I mean, he converted literal fullback.
Yeah, he was an H-back at K-State, and tight end is technically the position, but. I know we've talked about it on this show. It's like I think he's going to be a really good football player. I just don't see him as a fantasy asset at any point. I have a couple shares of him in my dynasty leagues, but it's more just in case I'm wrong. But
I'm mostly out on him. Not a fan. We've seen so many. I mean, there's probably just as many second round tight end busts as hits at this point. It's literally 50-50. I mean, for every who's second round? I mean, Ertz is a second round guy from the past, but I mean, there's Drew. All the busts are coming to mind. Drew Sample.
He went that high.
I think so. I think he was a second rounder. Gentry was possibly second, maybe third. Schoonmaker is set up to be a bust right now. So like, just because he's second round tight
end, Strange,
Strange. Like it just doesn't impress me from a draft capital standpoint.
Yeah. Then Jatavian Sanders, dynasty maybe.
Yeah,
I like the player, but again, it's similar to Xavier Legette issue.
Yeah,
Ian Thomas and Tommy Tremble are good blocking tight ends who have decent hands. So Tommy Tremble, another second rounder. Love him as a prospect, but Carolina. I blame Carolina there.
Yeah.
Then to the Giants again, Theo Johnson. It seems like it's a Daniel Bellinger room, right? Theo's got some talents. He's a good blocker, underrated blocker. Yeah. The Penn State problem, which we talk about on the show once a week at least. Then last name I want to hit here, which this is not someone I'm taking in redraft unless we have a Travis Kelce injury, but Jared Wiley. I love this dude as a prospect. I think he could be. We've heard it with Noah Gray, with whoever they took last year, whose name I don't even remember. But if there's an heir to Travis Kelce, I think this is the guy. Now, I don't think he will be a Travis Kelce level player, but this is
taking over
redraft. I don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care about him in redraft, but in Dynasty, I'm trying to pick him up in as many places as I can.
Yeah, it feels like a nice stash. I'm not going crazy or reaching or anything like that, but yeah, if he falls to you and people aren't really paying attention to name, definitely a guy I love to fill out with like a 4th or a 5th round pick for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a couple more bills to pay before we get into the defensive side of the ball. We're going to have to go through pretty quick, but there's nothing better than a live draft. Literally nothing is better. Get ahead of your game right now with Trophy Smack's gorgeous draft boards, complete with pair stickers so deep you couldn't possibly need them all. And for the first time, Trophy Smack has an IDP expansion pack for all of us degenerates, which if you're watching this show with IDP Plus, congratulations, you're one of us. No more scribbling names on blank stickers. Just go to Trophy Smack and get the draft boards that meets all of your needs. Check out the link in the show notes and get yours today. Alrighty, let's finish off with the defensive side of the ball. I think here, edge rushers, there's a lot of first rounders, and that's really all we're going to talk about today for them. The later rounders are kind of just, later rounders, but starting with Laitu Latu for the Colts. This was one before 3 days ago. I was way more hesitant than I am now since Samson Ebukam did tear his ACL or Achilles. Either way, he's out for the year.
Yeah,
I think it was Achilles. But yeah, I think Ebukam was really good for the Colts last year, actually, and I think there was going to be a 3-man rotation with them, and then even Odeyingbo in there. But Latu, I think, is going to start now. Pass rush upside.
For sure. Yeah, I was definitely down on him a little bit with the landing spot and just knowing that and, looking at that kind of gross rotation they had last year.
Yeah.
I mean, who were they? Just give me 1 second to flip to. I'm using our handy dandy team snap tool over on the website, available to subscribers only.
And that's at idpplus.com.
Hell yeah. So yeah, it was Ebukam, who was getting Taekwon Lewis was getting high 30s to mid 40% worth of snaps. Of course, but even his highest snap share was a 76%. And then Odeyingbo. So the initial landing spot was kind of like, ooh, but now with Ebukam, who was in the high 50s and 60s all year, but even if Laitu gets that again, it's going to be one of these guys. Unless it's a best ball league, I feel like you're going to get very frustrated though on a week-to-week basis, picking to when to start it.
Yeah, dynasty wise, I think you could still make an argument that he's the top rookie in this class, but.
I like Verse. Verse is my number 1.
Verse was my number 4, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, damn.
I don't see him. I don't see him as a massive pass rush upside guy. I think in a tackle heavy league, I can see it more, but there's a name we'll get to in a bit that I just love the prospect from a school we talk about a lot. So upside is there. Well, before that, Dallas Turner was the almost consensus edge 1. We're pretty close to coming in. He's been in a weird spot. Again, haven't heard much. Saw a clip of him getting blown up on the edge or just totally losing contain. I think it was earlier today. And Darnold scrambled for a touchdown, which, I mean, he's a rookie. Stuff happens.
Yeah.
I think he's listed behind Van Ginkel as a starter right now, but
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Do you care about the depth chart for the Vikings at all?
I mean, well, just from the standpoint of getting on the field, again, these rookies versus vets that they bring in and give guaranteed money to, it feels like, he's going to have to earn his way into more significant steps. So definitely kind of a slow burn to start the year, but they have Greenard and Van Ginkel there. So I don't. And in addition to, the normal kind of hand in the dirt type guys that are going to be on the line there. So he's one I'm pretty lower on. I know John Macri over at PFF had an interesting stat of him coming out that kind of he just graded sort of poorly. I'm trying to remember what it was. I can't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head, but he dug in and found something where Turner was somewhat significantly lower than a bunch of the guys from the top here in a particular metric that was pretty important to fantasy success there. So when I saw that kind of influenced me to keep Turner a bit lower than some of the others.
Yeah, makes sense. Then now it's Jared Verse. I said out he was my 4 for Dynasty, but he might be the top one for redraft. I think he has the clearest path to play. He is the starter already. Him and Braden Fiske, another rookie, are also listed as starters. So
yeah,
I think that's good for him.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we saw Michael Hector, whatever, have a decent year. Yeah, okay, yeah. He had a decent year in that role, and versus obviously a first rounder coming in, I think he's gonna smash that. Byron Young, opposite side, like I love a lot of those guys there. So excited for that for sure.
Yeah, nothing to add there really. Then this is next name I think is someone who is very polarizing. That is the Dolphins' Chop Robinson, player who I actually had him as my edge 2 going into the draft.
Nice, very nice.
Which is aggressive, but we know I love a Penn State freak athlete with no production. Soft spot I have, and now with Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips still hurt, Chop has actually been dominating the Dolphins practices. Saw some stuff where some have said he's been the best player on the defense, and Jalen Ramsey's there. So
damn.
But I think if he gets the role, he's a sneaky defensive rookie of the year pick, I think. I know Ben Solak for ESPN mentioned that. It's like sneaky pick, him and Mina Kimes, but I think that's interesting. I don't think he'll get you any tackles, but if he gets 12 sacks this year, that's not crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's coming along from everything that you said I'm hearing. And it's just opportunity, right? That's king. And if they're both going to miss the start of the season and he, takes advantage of that opportunity, which it sure seems like he is already doing in practice and training camp, then it's going to be hard to keep him, send him off the field just because guys are returning from health. And I think he'll stay on. Obviously, Phillips is a no-brainer. You got to put back if and when he's healthy. But I think he might not be back till after Chubb is ready to come back. But I think Chubb is the odd man out there. They're all 3 healthy at the same time.
Yeah. If we get to that point, which doesn't seem like it, unfortunately. Now to Arizona, Darius Robinson, who another kind of polarizing prospect. I was super high on him, but where were you on Darius?
Yeah, so he's a guy that I was not super familiar with. So I was kind of just following the draft capital. I didn't have much on him coming out. Is he so I got the feeling is he more of like one of these like tweener? He could play DT and DE. Is that
I think he's more of like, think of it like Madden terms. He's your defensive end, but then he's like your pass rush defensive tackle.
Okay.
So interior rush, but able to set the edge for the run game. A little bit of a tweener. I think a 3-4 edge 3-4 end would be a really good spot for him. That like Calais Campbell type role.
Gotcha.
It could be really good for him. But
so that's exciting. Exciting because they've got no one in Arizona, and they just lost BJ Ojulari.
Yeah, and he's done for the year, right?
Yeah, I think it was also a knee.
Bummer.
Yeah,
that sucks.
So again,
who was my comp?
Darius Robinson is going to walk into opportunity right off the bat. So just from that standpoint alone, without knowing much else, I'm excited. And he feels like one of these guys, if you're punting, right, in redraft, especially defensive line, he's like the perfect rookie to take a shot on.
He's not listed as a starter now, but everything I've seen, he's been dominating camp. Again, it's I mean, my comp for him was like a Cam Jordan, less refined, or like a bigger Draymond Jones.
Okay.
So, and Draymond, who's now an edge rusher, actually playing on the edge for the Seahawks, and was actually really good for fantasy after he switched that spot last year.
Yeah,
I think there's something there. I think Robinson, they need to find the good role for him, but maybe that Josh Sweat role, not the same type, not the same prototype, but I think that could be his landing spot.
I mean, it feels like if he's not a starter in week 1, that's just gross negligence coaching.
It is. Yeah.
They've got nobody.
Yeah. That's it for the day 1 edge rushers. One other name to bring up, I think, is just Chris Braswell with the Buccaneers. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka has been a bust. Yaya Diaby was a really exciting find last year, but both have been hurt throughout camp. Braswell had a lot of very similar numbers to Dallas Turner on a like per snap, per rush basis last year, and was good against the run. I think we're forgetting a lot about him, and I think there's a real chance he is a starter for a Todd Bowles defense, which I know we talked about a lot with not D'Amico Ryans, Vikings, Brian Flores. There we go.
Yeah,
just a very similar chaos defense, and I think we could see Yaya Diaby had 8 sacks last year. I wouldn't be shocked if Braswell did the same this year.
Yeah. The only thing that worries me is that they're very much Colts-like with their rotation.
Yeah.
Nobody north of 70% hardly. So that's just gross and annoying. And yeah, if it's best ball, 100%, he's a great late round target. I'm talking about late, like last round, you could probably get him.
Yeah.
Perfect. But man, where you have to choose, putting him in lineups, I feel like it's going to be frustrating. Dynasty absolutely feels like the kind of the heir apparent to the busty McTroyan Shrinka. So
yeah. So only going to hit on a couple interior names, and it's just most formats you're not playing a D tackle. But first one, Byron Murphy, who loved the prospect, but Seattle there wasn't the greatest fantasy landing spot this year. Just Leonard Williams is still really good. Draymond Jones still does his thing. They have Jerron Reed and one other who all were solid last year. But I don't think he's going to have a huge role this year. Now, if he does, if Leonard Williams or another guy gets hurt or they're just giving him 80% of snaps, I think he's someone who could be defensive rookie of the year. But I think it would take a few injuries which I just don't see happening. Dynasty wise, I think he's even in a non-DT league, like in the sleeper league, he's still someone I'm buying, taxing this year. And then he's not Aaron Donald, but maybe Justin Madubuike could be what he ends up being like. So
fair, spot on, totally agree.
Yep. I think we'll skip Mike Hall is another name, but I think we're running short on time, so we'll skip him for now. But
that's
pass rush specialist. Yeah. So now let's get to the linebackers. First one, my linebacker 1 from the class, Edgerrin Cooper.
Yeah.
Where are you at on Cooper?
He's fighting Isaiah McDuffie right now. So I like to talk about, there's an awesome Facebook group and group chat for IDP that has some really good discussions. And there's some people in there sort of anointing Cooper with even the green dot, which I hadn't heard at all. And now things are coming out saying that Isaiah, he's fighting Isaiah McDuffie right now. So just be careful. Is in redraft mostly. Definitely very high in Dynasty, and I think him and Quay will be playing next to each other for quite some time. People seem down on Quay Walker too, which I don't really totally understand from a fantasy perspective. I'm sure he left a little to be desired from real football standpoint. But he was, nagging injury all year. But for fantasy, I don't see how they're both not going to be great moving forward. But year one, it feels like, because who is it? Is it the defensive coordinator that was McDuffie's college coach for a year? There's something like that. There's some coach there that has a connection to McDuffie.
Cooper's been hurt a lot through camp, so I think that's a big reason. Tyron Hopper, the 4th round linebacker, maybe the third. He's gotten some work with the ones, but then got hurt today. So
interesting.
But I think Cooper's missed some time. Quay's missed time. I think all of them have been hurt.
Yeah,
I kind of want to stay away. Quay is the one in redraft I'm really interested in. Cooper, I would take a flyer on Cooper for redraft, but I had him as a top 12 player in this class. So then dynasty-wise, he's still the linebacker 1 pretty easily to me.
Totally agree.
Yeah, Ernest Jones was my comp for him. I think he has that level of play in him.
That would be awesome.
That'd be so sweet. Next, Junior Colson for the Chargers. This is another injuries, man. It's just been brutal. I know Dion Henley's looked good in camp so far. Denzel Perriman's probably going to start because he's the vet.
That's going to piss me off so much.
Yeah.
I want it to be Colson and Henley so bad.
I wrote an article that I don't know if it's been published yet, but it's based off the mock draft we did for IDP Plus. And Colson, I thought, was an overvalued linebacker going to LB 31. Just with him having been hurt, and he does need some time to acclimate. I just don't see it this year. Dynasty wise, I still like him a lot, but
yeah,
I'm kind of out this year.
Yeah, so remember Colson's coming along from the Harbaugh Michigan regime, so that's why people love him, and he probably will get some favoritism at some point. He's just got to be healthy there. So definitely a lot of reasons to like Colson, especially in Dynasty. So for sure.
I would have, if had the Chargers taken him at 36 or whatever their second round pick was, I thought that would have been a great pick, but getting him in the third,
even better.
I love the player. Just hold your horses a bit. I think IDP players for rookies are tough to play unless you have an overwhelming talent. Like even a Will Anderson struggled a bit last year, but
yeah.
Little deeper names to wrap up linebackers. Marist Liufau.
Yeah.
I just always struggle with. Apparently he's starting in 3 linebacker sets.
Yeah, probably as a Sam, I imagine.
Yeah.
I've been grabbing him everywhere and recommending him. Everyone's always in our Discords and in the Facebook chats and whatnot looking for deep guys. I mean, this guy's been overlooked all offseason for dynasty startups, for rookie drafts, and Eric Hendricks is a 1-year rental. DeMarvion Overshawn is going to be the 1, and Laifu is going to be the 2 going forward. I think starting.
So Overshawn is actually listed as Liufau's backup right now, and Damone Clark is the other starter.
Now he stinks.
Yeah.
That's one of those where I'm going to be biased and say I don't give a crap about what the current depth chart says.
Yep, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably going to give Clark some,
he's a good coverage
playing last year, but they weren't planning to play him if it hadn't been for injuries, right? So, I think very quickly they're going to be like, okay, we gave you a shot and you still stink.
Yeah.
Let's get the good.
I could see Mike Zimmer wanting Liufau. Goodness, that's kicking my butt right now. Be his Anthony Barr, maybe.
Yes,
is the goal there.
And remember it's a new defensive regime. They're gone as Dan Quinn, now is Mike Zimmer, who plays a lot more 2 linebackers on the field most of the time, almost all of the time, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be Kendricks and someone, either Clark or Overshawn probably, but I quickly think Overshawn's probably, he's still working back from injury from last year. So I hope that's the main reason driving that depth chart.
In a sack-heavy league, I'm way more interested in Liufau. I actually thought he was going to be a better edge prospect than anything. So interesting. Another player like that is the Steelers' Payton Wilson, who I struggled on him as a prospect a lot, but
reading all your guys' stuff, I made me drop him a lot more, and I think people are taking him a lot higher than they should. He struggles with injury, struggles to stay healthy, and
not very fluid athletically, laterally especially. Makes big plays, but I don't know. Tough SOB, but I don't know. Granted, with Pittsburgh, it's a good fit, but he's still listed as a backup. But is that I think it's just a rookie thing. I think we'll know a lot more depth chart wise going into next week, but after this first round of preseason games. But
I still think he's kind of a nothing burger for a redraft.
I think so too. Cool. Let's hit on your Eagles, a couple rookies they have, specifically Jeremiah Trotter and Cooper DeJean. Gonna totally refer to you on how you feel about these guys.
Yeah, DeJean's someone I love and am stashing where I can. Unfortunately, I'm not getting a lot of him because other people also love him and are taking him way higher than I like to invest in just defensive backs in Dynasty. Trotter, I've got him a couple taxi squads. I'm not really expecting a ton from him, to be honest. Who knows how things shake out. They don't, Dean is kind of trending towards bust territory. Apparently, Zach Vaughn is the LB2 right now. Devin White, who knows how long he's actually going to stick around. 1 year, maybe 2. So, but Trotter, 5th rounder. It's a great story, but I don't know that he develops into what his dad became for this team. More of a hopeful stash for Trotter. Both of them probably zeros in redraft. unless the gene, just plays his way onto the field from practice and or a good amount of injuries happen in front of him, which would really suck. They're gonna find ways to get him on the field, though.
Yeah, DeGene, I'm still super in on Dynasty. He's not even listed on the initial Eagles depth chart, which is interesting. Must be hurt or something.
Right.
But Philly, they don't mean much at this point. So cornerback wise, only have 2 more going to hit, and it's not going to be your Quinion Mitchells or Terrion Arnolds. They're boundary corners. I don't care for fantasy, so I'm going to executive decide to just ignore them. The guy who was seen by many as the top nickel corner in the class is Mikey Sainristil from the Commanders, who really the main thing there is he has the job. He's the starting slot already. That's pretty much all I'm going to say about that.
Which is important. And they're probably going to be in a good amount of potential shootouts with that defense overall still being just decimated last year, and still kind of not looking all that great from a bird's eye view. So he's an exciting guy. It sounds like Quan Martin's headed to free safety, which is fine. That's fine.
Bummer for me as a Quan Martin stand, but oh well.
I think he'll do well. I mean, shit, if we were getting production out of Derek freaking Forrest, so I think he'll be just fine there. As long as he's on the field, I'm happy, and I think he'll make plays. Because Chin, who knows what Chin is still is.
Yeah, Quan Butler is going to be the next. I think he's an awesome football player who is just going to turn into nothing for fantasy for me.
Oh boy,
probably what's going to happen. But I can live with it.
Yeah.
So next, we're going to hit on. Yeah,
he's good.
I think I will say in redraft, I think if you're in like an MFL cornerback league, Sainristil, if we're punting cornerbacks, I think that's a sneaky pickup.
I like that call.
The sneakiest pickup, one of my favorite players in this class. I know we had a fun discussion on my top 5 favorite players last week. Another guy who's in that conversation is Drew Phillips for the Giants. We're going to loop him in with Tyler Nubin for the Giants as well. But Drew Phillips, I think he's just a freaking badass, man.
Like, you got to take me to school. Take me to school on him.
So, those nickel corners who they're so annoying. He's a Roger McCreary clone to me. He's just an absolute psychopath. Will go knock people twice his size out of the game. I love the player. I think he's a maniac as a slot. There's a great Dane Brugler did a great piece on him. I think it was Brugler. I know it was on The Athletic. I'm pretty sure it was him on his upbringing. Came up from not a whole lot and just a great piece. And I think he's just an absolute psychopath on the field. And I love that feisty nickel corner. He's a bit bigger than Sainristil. There was some talk he was going to be a boundary corner, which would have been a bummer fantasy-wise, but he has that starting nickel slot locked down. I think he's another sneaky pickup there. In a cornerback league, in a cornerback dynasty league, I would have him in every single league.
Yeah, awesome. I do remember now. I feel like I remember now a clip from the Hard Knocks where they were speaking very highly of him from both the character perspective and as a football player. So that's a great call. I love that.
Yeah. And then Tyler Nubin, I know you talked about him last week with Dane Belton. I think that kind of carries over.
Yeah. They say it's Belton's job to lose, apparently. So hopefully they're not lying to us about that.
Yeah. Whatever. We'll see. Nubin's a better player, I think. So once he gets the job, I think he'll be relevant for fantasy squads, dynasty, and redraft.
For sure.
Yeah. Next safety, Javon Bullard for the Packers. Big question for me here is where are he and Xavier McKinney going to be? I think both have a really good hybrid ability to be like your star defender, deep in the box. I don't know what the usage is going to look like. Bullard apparently has been awesome in camp. He's got the spot locked down. Other rookie Evan Williams from Oregon apparently has also had a great camp, but he's just going to be the third safety at best because Bullard and McKinney are that good.
Nice.
So, what do you think about Bullard?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember where I had him. I think I had him right after Nubin. It's like the 2 or 3, most likely. So yeah, it just feels like he's waltzing right into snaps on the field as a starter, which is great for a rookie in that position. So not a huge opinion one way or the other, but yeah, if he's starting on the field, because it feels like McKinney, right? He's very good tackler, so there might not.
Then
be
he's also the
left.
PFF wise, he had the best coverage grade for deep safeties, so it's like,
oh boy, right? How are they going to deploy them?
Redraft wise, I'm going to wait and see. I think just a bit to see how they deploy them. I think it's really going to probably be just a rover situation. They're rotating a lot, so I think both will be good.
I think there's a lot better shots to take in redraft. I'll just say
I think so.
Dynasty, Shores, probably going to be great.
Couple more to hit here. There's out of Utah, Cole Bishop now with the Bills. I struggled with him as a prospect, but he's the backup to DeMar Hamlin right now. Just broke his scapula, I think.
Oh boy.
So, I think, or sprained it or something. I thought it was only supposed to be a couple weeks that he should be ready for week 1, but a weird injury.
Yeah, he just feels like a guy again that is going to be a wait and see. Definitely not, I don't think, stepping on the field as a starter. So, he's a waiver wire pickup in redraft. Dynasty, probably up there as one of the better guys. Could have top 3 potential in the class, looking back in a few years, because I was thinking Mike Edwards would be starting with Taylor Rapp, but I think he's banged up. As well.
He's been hurt.
Who knows? This could break a multitude of ways, but seemingly the only locked in guy there is Taylor Rapp right now. So
Then last name to bring up for me is Tyke Smith, also with the Bucks, another SEC defender. He actually won the star role over Javon Bullard at Georgia, so he has a lot of box experience. But I don't know. Starting out, I don't think he'll start over Jordan Whitehead. Maybe he'll take the slot role from Christian Izien, but he's more of a dynasty stash to me. I think he's someone who could end up being a good player. But
exactly.
I just don't know where he fits.
He kind of lumps into me similarly to Cooper DeJean, where he's got that versatility to play corner and safety, and that they feels like they're just going to try to find ways to get him on the field. Maybe more 3 safety sets or something like that. Maybe he's like a new Josh Metellus type guy. But definitely someone, because he was 3rd round, right? Like not terrible draft capital. I
think he went the 2nd actually.
Oh my God, even better. Whether it's 2nd or 3rd, it's still good draft capital regardless, and like nobody's talking about it. He's definitely a flying under the radar guy that I'm snatching up and stashing in almost all my dynasty leagues I can.
Absolutely. So that pretty much does it. Do you have any other rookies that we didn't talk about that you want to bring up before we head out for the night?
Yeah, Laitu was one of my favorites, so I'm glad we touched on him. Let me take a quick peek and see if my rankings, if I have got anybody.
There are a couple other names I had, but for redraft, no one else really. A couple dynasty flyers. Again, we talked about Jermaine Burton briefly. A couple of names, your Ray Davises, your Bucky Irvings, just those other secondary options, the potential RB2s, both those guys seem to be locking down the RB2 role.
Right. What do you think about the Tennessee linebacking situation and big Cedric Gray?
I love Cedric Gray as a prospect. Just Jack Gibbons is the green dot as of now. Then
wow.
Kenneth Murray's there, and they gave him a real contract. I don't think Kenneth Murray's good, but and I think Gray's been hurt. So redraft wise, I'm kind of off Gray, but I have him in a few dynasty shares of him. I like him a lot. I think he can be your boring ass 100 tackle player who's like, oh, are they even good? But then it's like, okay.
Kendricks, Jordan Hicks, like
that sort of player.
Good. That's good. Cause that just felt because I thought that situation was kind of murky and wasn't sure if anybody had been
liked
awarded
him.
the green dot yet. So so he's a fun name too.
Jermaine Pratt was my comp for him, and that I feel like that makes 112 tackles every year, and just linebacker 3.
That feels spot on.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Cool, sweet. Other name linebacker wise, Trevin Wallace. I don't think he's going to do anything this year, but have to bring him up. Loved him as a prospect.
Okay.
High risk, high reward, but
I
think with Carolina, I don't think there's any long term. I love Shaq Thompson, but off the injury, and then Josie Jewell, I don't think they're long for the team.
Okay.
Dan Morgan, loved him, so it's a big stash for me.
Nice.
Then I'm sure redraft wise, someone else will end up mattering that we didn't touch on, but yeah. So Santa, thank you for coming on second week in a row. I know you're heading to the expo tomorrow morning, right?
Yepper.
Yeah, we'll have a blast there. And to JJ and Jameson, I hope you guys are having a blast there. So tags, Santa, what are you up to?
Yeah, at Dynasty Santa on Twitter. August is a crazy busy month, so just keeping the rankings updated. Got to get writing here a little bit, testing out cool new tools for bettors on the website. So we've got tons and tons of exciting stuff, already on the site and still coming for the site. So really excited there.
Yeah, thank you again for coming on. You can catch me at Jolo63 on X, Twitter. We're putting out some articles again for redraft. Have an overvalued, undervalued linebacker one that should be coming out soon. You can catch me here every Thursday evening live for Rider Dynasty. And I think dropping Fridays and podcast version. Next week, JJ and Jameson will be back from the expo, which they'll be doing some chatting about that. I think we'll be hitting undervalued quarterbacks and running backs. And I believe we're going to have Rachel Tootsie Pop on with us. It's the note I have in here. And you can also catch JJ on the All Out Blitz with Doug. They will be doing some draft strategies next week. So that is all we got. Thank you all for joining us. Yeah. Tune in next week to All Out Blitz, Rider Dynasty, anything else that we have. And check out our articles at idpplus.com. From all of us to all of you, as JJ would say, be safe, be well, and as always, boat drinks.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.